If committee would just allow me, I just wanted to come back on the point about retail organisations. I mean, I'm more than happy to acknowledge that all sorts of organisations aren't quite as independent as they seem. In fact, many health charities over the years feel more like astroturfed organisations because most of their money comes from government one way or another. And so, you know, all I'm pointing out is that the idea of a kind of neutral body of representative organisations is something that could be queried. My general point, though, and it's fair enough about trade associations, my general point, rather than trying to simply imply that there's something dodgy about the particular associations that I mentioned because of any association with tobacco, is that there's tens of thousands of small retailers who are tearing their hair out about the implications of this what's it called? Legislation, sorry. And that's reflected in a wide range of ways, not just by briefings I've had from trade associations, because actually I haven't had very many from trade associations. I've investigated it myself, I've talked to quite a number of them, I've then met others through others of them, and I've read around, which is why doing research for a piece of legislation matters. And I think that there's a danger of saying, oh, well, we can't talk to the trade associations of the small convenience stores because the ones we know of have some association or have got some funding from big tobacco. And maybe that's because they're actually often sidelined and ignored by other organisations, and they shouldn't be. And if the government actually took them seriously, or if they weren't kind of treated as though they were kind of pariahs who everyone can ignore, because these are small players, right? This is your local corner shop. How do they get a voice here? And so I thought I'd try and give them a voice. And I don't think it's appropriate to imply that somehow giving them a voice is something to do with representing big tobacco. It's unrelated completely from the general point I was making. And as I've pointed out, organisations like ASH and so on get their funding from somewhere. And it's not necessarily big tobacco, but it's big government.
Having said that, if I may, I wonder if the noble Baroness would agree with me that it would be unfortunate to see any organisations fear-mongering among small businesses that already have a lot of concerns and a lot to face when this bill comes into operation.
It would also seem that misrepresenting them in the pages of the Grocer and saying that they absolutely love this legislation is the opposite of fear-mongering. It's called misinformation, it's illegitimate and it's not fair. And I don't think any fear-mongering needed to happen. I mean, as it goes, the government recognises that small retailers are under pressure, which is why it's tried to bring in a piece of legislation that actually says there's going to be a special offence if you assault or attack a retail worker. I mean, I always hoped the law would do that anyway, and we didn't need an extra law, so, you know, it makes me nervous that we do it. But that's not because of fear-mongering. That's because, on the ground, in small shops, up and down high streets throughout the land, things are pretty grim. And the BBC report that I recently mentioned about the kind of illegal shops that are springing up, it was also an indication where a lot of these small shops are saying, we don't even mind being licensed, right? We don't want to be part of a world that's ignored. And all I'm saying is they have not had consultation with the government, and they don't know how to do it, and they can't afford the kind of big bucks, so maybe they get a bit of sponsorship, I don't know. But somebody should listen to them, go out and talk to them, go around with a billboard and just chat to them. I mean, I'm just suggesting we don't pass this legislation without having a chat with them. And I get annoyed when people say we've already consulted retail and nobody's had a chat with the people who we really are going to be affected by this.